Hello, and welcome to Honoring the Departed. Today, Mark, our caretaker, is going to share with you the history of one of the oldest cemeteries in the state of Georgia. Oakland Cemetery in Atlanta, Georgia.
Welcome to Honoring the Departed. I'm Mark, your host, and I'm going to tell you about Oakland Cemetery in Atlanta, Georgia. It's the second oldest cemetery in the state of Georgia. Early city officials purchased 6 acres in 1850 to be a public burial ground for a young but fast-growing town of Atlanta. Originally called Atlanta Graveyard or City Burial Place. This was the beginning of Oakland Cemetery. It was officially renamed in 1872. By then, it had expanded to 48 acres, mainly due to pressures of the Civil War. In the late 19th century, families tended the plots of loved ones, creating an assortment of lovely gardens. Oakland became a popular destination for Sunday carriage rides and picnics. Oakland Cemetery is one of the largest cemetery green spaces in Atlanta, Georgia. Founded as Atlanta Cemetery in 1850 on 6 acres of land southeast of the city, it was renamed in 1872 to reflect the large number of oak and magnolia trees growing in the area. By that time, the city had grown, and the cemetery had enlarged correspondingly to the current 48 acres. Since then, Atlanta has continued to expand so that the cemetery is now located in the center of the city. Oakland is an excellent example of a Victorian-style cemetery and reflects the garden cemetery movement started and exemplified by Mount Auburn Cemetery in Massachusetts. The original 6 acres of Oakland remains one of the oldest historical plots of land in Atlanta, most of the rest of the city having been burned in 1864. Because of its age and location, the cemetery directly reflects the history and changing culture of the city of Atlanta and the significant events it has seen. Names of Atlanta streets, buildings, parks, subdivisions, and more can be found within the cemetery gates. An estimated 70,000 people are interred at Oakland, and while the last plots were sold in 1884, there are still regular burials today. These are largely conducted on family-owned plots or areas owned by Atlanta, one of the most recent being former Mayor Maynard Jackson, whose plot was contributed by the city. Some of Oakland's residents are very famous, and here are a few examples. 27 former Atlanta mayors including Ivan Allen, Jr., Moses Formwalt, Atlanta's first mayor, Maynard Jackson, Atlanta's first African-American mayor, S.B. Spencer, former Georgia governors, Joseph E. Brown, Joseph Mackey Brown, John B. Gordon, William J. Northern, John Marshall, Hoke Smith, Confederate generals, Lucius J. Gartrell, Clement A. Evans, John B. Gordon, Alfred Iverson, Jr., William Ambrose Wright, and even a few stars and famous authors like Kenny Rogers and Margaret Mitchell. In Margaret Mitchell's 1936 novel Gone with the Wind, Oakland Cemetery is mentioned as the final resting place of Scarlett O'Hara's first husband, Charles Hamilton, and as the burial place of many Confederate soldiers who died during the Civil War. Please feel free to visit Oakland Cemetery for yourself, and that's about all I have today. Thanks for joining me. Back to you, Sam.
Well, thank you, Mark. Oakland Cemetery seems like a beautiful and historical place. I'll be sure to visit the next time I'm in Atlanta. Well, that is all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us on Honoring the Departed. I'm your host, Sam, and you have a blessed day.